All right, we want to talk about the subject of hell. And if I asked you to give 5 descriptions of hell, I'm sure you would probably be able to do that. This teaching tonight is designed to do 2 things, I hope to accomplish 2 things. Number one, to give us an accurate understanding of this place. It is not a myth. It is not an analogy. It is not mystical. It is a literal place. But also, as I prayed for constraint, for compulsion, for urgency, maybe that's the best word, for urgency, as we look at people, as we view people. There is an eternal state that everybody will be facing. And there is a choice to respond. And that opportunity to respond comes through us. As we talked from Ezekiel on Thursday, we are called to be watchmen and sound the trumpet. So let's begin. I don't think this word is in the dictionary at all. I kind of made it up. Ology means study of, so we're going to have a study about hell. Now, there are various words used for hell in the Bible, and I want to go through some of these with you. Some of them do not refer to hell itself, but refers to the other half of Abraham's bosom. Let's go through it together, okay? Hades. If you have your Bible, turn to Luke chapter 16. Luke chapter 16, many preachers will use hell and Hades as synonymous terms, but they're not. In Luke chapter 16, we have verse 23 talking about the rich man and Lazarus. You know the story. But I want you to go to verse 22. Now the poor man died and was carried away by the angels to Abraham's bosom. Now, if you remember when I first started teaching down at the Meadows, we did a brief stint on eschatology, and I gave you a diagram of the various temporal places of confinement and eternal places of confinement. If you want to right now, take a piece of paper and draw an oval. Make it large enough, okay? Draw an oval on your piece of paper. And then I want you to divide that oval in half. Draw a line just down the middle of it, okay? Now label that oval Abraham's bosom. Label the oval Abraham's bosom. And you got the line down the middle, right? On the left-hand side, inside the oval, on the left-hand side, that compartment there, write the word paradise. And on the right-hand side, write the word Hades. This Abraham's bosom in the Old Testament was the temporary confinement of righteous and unrighteous spirits of people who died. So like Abraham and Sarah and David and Solomon and the prophets, when they died, their spirits went to paradise. But other people like Cain and like Ahab and Jezebel, those wicked, evil people, Jeroboam and Rehoboam, when they died, their spirits went to Hades. And this is a visual picture, but you need to understand this is a temporary, that was a temporary place of confinement. Now, if you're looking at the scriptures with me, verse 22, now the poor man died and was carried away by angels to Abraham's bosom, and the rich man also died and was buried in Hades. So where's the rich man? He is in Hades. Where is Lazarus? He is in paradise. It doesn't explicitly say that, but you draw that by inference and conclusion. And notice how Hades is described. This is the only parallel, if you please, between Hades and hell. The thing I want you to understand is hell is a permanent place of eternal separation from God in torment. Hades is also a place of torment, but it is temporary. Hang on to that thought as we finish up here. In Hades, verse 23, he lifted up his eyes, being tormented, and saw Abraham far away and Lazarus in his bosom. And he cried out and said, Father Abraham, have mercy on me. Send Lazarus so that he may dip the tip of his finger in water and cool off my tongue, for I am in agony in this flame. All the characteristics of hell are represented by Hades. But Hades is temporary. And Hades, listen to me, is still active today for those who die who have rejected Christ. When someone who rejects Christ dies, that person's spirit goes to Hades. It does not go to hell. Not yet. But Abraham said, Child, verse 25, remember that during your life you received your good things, and likewise Lazarus is bad, and now he is being comforted here, and you are in agony. Now notice the description of paradise. It's a place of comfort. And besides all this, between us and you, there is a great chasm fixed, so that those who wish to come over from here to you will not be able to, and none may cross over from there to us. So as you take a look at that oval and you got the line down the middle, that's a chasm. There's no going back and forth between. Now that shoots down purgatory right in the head. There's no going back and forth between the two. That's what this rich man wanted. And Abraham says, no way, Jose, it's not going to happen. You had your good things in life. You didn't acknowledge God. And now you're reaping what you're sowing. And there's this chasm that is, you can't scale it, you can't cross it. And that's similar today. When somebody dies today and their spirit goes to Hades, nobody can pray them out of Hades. No one can light candles. No one can say prayers. It's appointed unto man once to die, and that's it. Then the judgment. Now, if you turn to Revelation chapter 1, verse 18. Revelation chapter 1, verse 18. 17. When I saw him, I fell at his feet like a dead man. This is John seeing the vision of Christ. And Christ placed his hand on me, saying, Do not be afraid. I am the first and the last, the living one. And I was dead, and behold, I am alive forevermore. I have the keys of death and Hades. Death and Hades. Now, turn to Revelation chapter 20. Revelation chapter 20. Beginning in verse 11, this is the great white throne judgment now, okay? So the millennial has ended. The battle of Armageddon has ended. We are at the final judgment before the creation of the new heavens and the new earth. Verse 11, Then I saw a great white throne, and he who sat upon it, from whose presence earth and heaven fled away, and no place was found for them. And I saw the dead and the great, the great and the small, standing before the throne, and books were open, and another book was opened, which is the book of life. That's the Lamb's book of life. And the dead were judged from the things that were written in the books according to their deeds. I've explained that to you before. And the sea gave up the dead which were in it. That's the body. And death and Hades gave up the dead which were in them. That's the spirit. Notice, death and Hades were called up before God. Verse 14, then death and Hades were thrown into the lake of fire. This is the second death, the lake of fire, or hell. So when you read through the Bible, and especially in the Gospels, and you come across Hades, have this visual in your mind. This is half of Abraham's bosom. Now, I want you to turn to Ephesians chapter 4. I know we're doing some Bible drill here, but this is important that we get a flow of what's going on here. Ephesians chapter 4. And I hope I can find it here very quickly. Yes, there it is. Let's begin in verse 9. Ephesians 4:9. Now this is expression, he ascended. What does it mean? Except that he also had descended into the lower parts of the earth. He who descended is himself also he who ascended far above all heaven, so that he might fill all things. And that's not the verse that I'm looking for. I wonder if it's in Ephesians chapter 2. Well, I got ahead of myself somewhere along the line. Nope. There it is. Back up. Back up to verse 7. I'm sorry. But to each one of us grace was given according to the measure of Christ's gift. Therefore it says, when he ascended on high, so who's that? That's Jesus. He led captive a host of captives. What is he talking about? What are the hosts of captives? Those are the spirits of righteous men and women who were confined temporarily in paradise. So when Jesus ascended to heaven, look at Abraham's bosom there. He emptied paradise. So the only leftover temporary place of confinement is Hades. Paradise has been removed with Jesus. When he went to heaven, he took paradise with him. So Hades is a temporary place of confinement, of punishment, yet to be disposed of into the lake of fire / hell. When you read lake of fire and hell, those are synonymous terms. Gehenna. Gehenna in the Greek or in the English sometimes is translated as hell. Now, there's a picture of Gehenna that Jesus uses when he refers to it, but let's understand the history of it. Gehenna was the valley of the sons of Hinnom. Valley of the sons of Hinnom. It is a historical place in Jesus' day. It was a historical place during the time of Israel. And what happened in the biblical history, it had become a place where human sacrifices were done by the pagan worshipers of pagan gods. They would sacrifice their children. God oftentimes used the prophets to chastise the people of Israel and Judah for allowing their children to be burned at the altar. That is a reference to Gehenna. Eventually, human sacrifices ended, probably with the Greeks, and carried on into the Roman Empire. And it becomes a visual aid by Jesus because Gehenna became the garbage dump where garbage and dead people were perpetually burned. There was a constant odor, a constant smoke and fog, a constant smell, a constant flame, a constant heat. And so This is a picture, in part, about the description of hell. Sheol is used 64 times. I'm not going to look at all these verses. Sheol is not a eternal, Sheol is not a temporary or eternal spiritual state. Let me say that again. Sheol is not like Hades, which is a temporary, eternal state. Sheol is not like hell or heaven, which are eternal spiritual states. This is important. Sheol is simply the grave. Simply the grave. That's what it means. And you find it most frequently in the Old Testament. Let not my soul go down to Sheol, to the grave. The Old Testament saints didn't have a real clear picture about eschatology. And so they equated Sheol as a permanent place of separation. Well, it was for the body, but not for their spirit. So when you see Sheol, or you hear someone say Sheol and they equate it with Hades or hell, they are incorrect. It simply means the grave, the ground. Lake of fire, we just looked at, that's as the second death, stated very clearly there in Revelation chapter 20. Excuse me, this is the second death. There it is again, Revelation 2:11 and 21:18. Hell can be described a couple of different ways, like lake of fire, the second death, hell itself, the word. But to ensure, depending on where you're at in the Gospels, more than Okay. Can anybody hear me then?
Okay, yeah.
Yep.
You're back.
Yep.
All
Yep,
right.
you're back.
I wonder if my multi-plug here is going bad already. All right, let me start
Oh.
let me start back up the record. Where did you guys lose me?
Second death.
Second death.
Okay, let me start recording. Okay. All right, second death, Revelation 2:11 and 21:18, where it says, "This is the second death." And then the passages there in Malachi and Matthew about furnace is a figurative representative. You still there?
Yeah, we're still here.
Still
Okay.
here.
I don't know.
Jody must have logged off. Um, it's figurative in the description of hell, furnace of fire, and then eternal fire. Jude 7, just as Sodom and Gomorrah and the cities around them, since they in the same way as these indulge in gross immorality and went after strange flesh, are exhibited as an example in undergoing the punishment of eternal fire. There's another description for hell, eternal fire. So these are various ways that words are used in the Bible for hell. The two asterisk ones are not hell, as I've tried to explain to us. Now, I want to stop for a moment and see if you understand about Abraham's bosom and the concept that this was a temporary place of either comfort or punishment. Do we understand that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, all right. And we understand that paradise was taken up with Christ when he ascended. Yes.
Right. Yes.
And we understand
Yes.
that when an unrighteous person dies, their spirit goes to Hades, and no one is in hell at this point because the great white throne judgment has not taken place. Right?
Right.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. And then in Matthew 18, Matthew 8, 12, 22, 25, etc., it talks about hell being a place of outer darkness and weeping. And I'll let you look those up on your own. All right, can I go to the next slide? Is everybody caught up?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
good.
All right. Okay. Now, descriptions and characteristics. What words describe hell? 995 different words to describe hell if you do an internet search, but they are very, very broad. I'm only concerned with what the Bible says about hell. The Bible describes hell as a literal place. As a literal place. This is not some type of Christian myth. This is not some conjecture of a man's mind or a philosophy. If if heaven is a literal place, and I have the assurance that I'm going to go to heaven, a literal place, streets of gold, we did a study on heaven, then hell has got to be just as literal because Jesus would not talk about something that is mystical and without handles to grasp and understand. So if someone dies who have rejected Christ, they go to a literal place. Second of all, let me back up, hit it too many times. Okay. All right, be that way. It's an eternal place. We looked at that earlier. It's forever. There is no, the theology of Roman Catholicism is wrong. You cannot light candles. You cannot say prayers. You cannot give special offerings for the dead to get them out of purgatory, move them up into heaven. It's an eternal place, excuse me, once for all. It's a spiritual and a physical place. when someone dies who does not have that relationship with Christ because they have rejected the message, there are physical attributes that will take place in hell. And we'll look at that in just a moment here. It is a place filled with smoke. Picture of Gehenna, the garbage dump. Hell is going to be filled with smoke. It's going to be so thick and dense that you won't be able to see your hand before your face. It is going to be that thick and dense. It's a place where there is this inextinguishable fire, a perpetual fire that will continue to burn and can never be quenched, can never be put out. I don't know the intensity of a fire. Fire is fire. You put your hand in a fire, it's going to hurt. It's going to burn. This one here is going to be of such agonizing pain that there's going to be great weeping that will be taking place. But there will be no consumption of the person. Now, when you think about fires that kill people, the body is charred many times. Not much is left, but maybe a little bit of a skeletal remains. Well, in this place called hell, none of that will take place. The body will not be consumed. The flesh will not burn off. That's hard for us to imagine, but that's what the Bible is describing. And that's why it becomes so urgent for us when we talk about Christ and rescuing us from this place and how he did it, the importance for us to make that clear. It's a place of unquenchable thirst. The rich man asked just for a drop of water to be placed on his tongue. That is not going to take place. There will be no opportunity. I think most of us have experienced a deep thirst. We have worked out in the sun. I know at times when I've worked with somebody, the person has offered me a person has offered me a Gatorade, and that's supposed to help hydrate you and give you all the other good stuff and what have you. And it is satisfying to a certain point. There is no satisfaction of thirst in this place. It's a place of utter darkness. As I said, you're not going to be able to see anything, but you will hear. You will hear. It's almost like a Steven Spielberg novel, but this is real, beloved. You can't fast forward the channel. It's a place where there is loud weeping, according to the scriptures. Loud weeping. And doesn't that make sense? Here is a person who has thirst that cannot be quenched, is wanting a little sliver of light through the darkness, is experiencing intense heat and fire. Don't you think that person will be weeping very, very loudly? Of course they will. And then it's a place where there is the sound of gnashing teeth. Gnashing teeth. I can remember our first two children, Carol and I, the bedroom for the kids were right across the hallway from us. And we would be wakened by gnashing of teeth. Our girls would grind their teeth. It's a chilling, shivering kind of sound. But imagine this times thousands and thousands of people. Beloved, there's not going to be a half a dozen people that go to this eternal place of punishment. Thousands upon thousands. those who are wrapped up in the cults, those who are over in third and fourth world countries that are being deceived by false teachers. There's going to be a lot of people there. It's a conscious place of judgment. They know where they're at. There will not be any bewilderment. How did I wind up here? What's going on? They will know. There is a consciousness. Just like you and I, if we are believers, we will have a consciousness of heaven. Likewise for hell. Let me back up. I'm sorry. Oh, come on. My computer is not acting very well. What is going on? Hang on. My goodness, I am all thumbs today. It's an inescapable place of confinement. Now, just like we will be changed in a twinkling of an eye. Bat your eye right now. Over with. Do it again, over with. Do it again, over with. That's how quickly eternity will take place. Do it again. Do it again. Now that's the person that you know is not saved. Just that quick. Back when the old field preachers were prominent over in England, and as they came to America, Whitfield and some of these other folks, they did not shy away from their message that they preached and their invitation about heaven and hell. They understood. They were urgent in their call. I told you the story about D.L. Moody, who preached one time at the Chicago Tabernacle. And he closed his message out telling the people, I want you to think about what I've told you and come back next week and make a decision. Remember me telling you that story? Well, that night, as he went home, the Chicago fire took place. O'Leary's cow kicked over the lamp. And hundreds of people, thousands, fled to Lake Michigan trying to escape the growing spread of the fire, because Chicago was a wooden building at that point. And hundreds lost their lives. And he made a vow at that point, I will never preach again without giving an invitation. And many times his invitations talked about sin and repentance and heaven and hell. I just want us to be more aware as we look at people about their eternal state. And the thing that grips me as I think about that, the twinkling of an eye. The twinkling of an eye. Snap your finger. That's it. Bat your eye. That's it. That is how quick. I'm not trying to lay any of you on a guilt trip. Don't misunderstand me. But I think we have become somewhat pacifists when it comes down to eternity. Questions that you might have. Thoughts from great readers. Another clear as mud message. Wow. All right.
It's clear. Man. Yeah, can I get a peek in the book of life to make sure my name's in there?
You better talk. You better talk to the Lord and get that ironed out, buddy. You might want You might want to turn in your resignation as a council member if you're not sure.
Yeah, I'm sure. Just kidding.
I know you are. Jody, you got a question?
I was going to ask a question about Sheol, but I had thought maybe it was just a place of mourning, not the grave itself, because
Yes.
they talk about going to Sheol, but it almost sounded like they were going to that in mourning because of a death of someone else. But if you're telling me that that's not what it is truly the grave, then
Well, I
I
don't
was
think.
misinterpreting.
Well, no, that's a great question, Jody, and we can combine the two answers. I think it is a place where there will be mourning, but when people die, unless they are utterly confident that they are going to see heaven, they dread dying and going to the grave. So for them, it is
Okay.
a place of mourning and separation, but it is a hole in the ground. That's what Sheol is, a hole in the ground. It's for the body. It's not for the spirit. Now, here's a logical question, okay? If Sheol was a place for the spirit, then why do you have Hades or paradise? How would God know where to send you? So Sheol has got to be for the body.
Ah, okay.
Does that make
All right, that makes sense.
a little bit of sense for you? Okay.
Yep. Yes, it does.
Good
Thank you.
Good question, Jody. Good question. All right, Tuesday we will return to the parables. My goodness, do you realize how many parables we have looked at so far? My cow.
Bunch of them.
Jesus did a whole bunch of teaching, didn't he? And then Thursday we will get into Daniel. Sunday we go into Hezekiah chapter 8. It will continue with Hezekiah, but more from an application point of view to these Messianic Jews that were struggling with staying with Christianity and not deserting from that to Judaism. And then Sunday night, we will come back and have another session on this concept of hell. This is not going to go on for a long time. It's going to be short and brief, but I think there's at least one more lesson involved with this.
Samuel.
Pastor, I'm confused. You're talking about Hezekiah. When are you doing that?
I'm not talking about Hezekiah.
You said Hezekiah. Yeah.
Did I say Hezekiah, Jody?
Yeah.
I got
Yes,
a little
you did.
confused.
You did
Guys
say.
Was that,
You guys need to clean out your ears.
I mean, were you talking about your sermon on Hebrews?
Okay, let's back up for a minute, okay? Tuesday are the
Go ahead.
parables,
Gotcha.
right?
Right.
Thursday is Daniel.
Yes.
Right.
Okay, good.
Is Hebrews 8 on Melchizedek. Yeah, I did say Hezekiah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we could talk about Hezekiah. I mean, no, Melchizedek.
Okay.
Okay.
Ay. I need to talk.
Yeah,
No ice cream for you tonight.
Carl, I
I think
need to
you
talk.
got
Carl, I need to either talk to Johnny or Dan. Okay. Any questions from this morning? I rarely feel comfortable with what I preach on, but I thought that it flowed well. Any feedback?
Yeah, I thought it was good.
No, I thought it was good. I wished you would have been recording.
Yeah. Well, Jeanette, we need to call her up for church discipline. She didn't flag me. Anyway, and I'm not going to go back and record it, re-record it. Yeah. So I'm sorry about that.
I needed to tell him.
Uh,
Oh, yeah.
is my sitting down bothering any of you guys? Or are you hearing any feedback that I'm sitting down?
No.
No, that
No,
doesn't bother us.
not at all.
Okay.
Nope.
All right. I just wanted to make sure. Now, the Presbyterian pastor, Eldon, told me he had a ruptured appendix.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
Barry's-
So he's
Ballard,
up at Guthrie, and they took it out, and they're working with the infection now.
Oh, that's bad.
That is somewhat typical if they don't do it all at one time, and it can feel like you're having another appendix attack. I've been
Mhm.
down that road. It's not a pleasant road. I didn't know his wife was preaching out there in Rome.
Oh,
Not Rome, Italy, Rome, Pennsylvania.
Mm.
So anyway,
She's been out there a long time.
has she? Okay.
Yes.
All righty.
Hmm.
Well, it was good to see Robert there this morning. Bob Harvey, good to see there. Good
Yeah.
to see Dave and Linda. I hope some of you greeted them. Try to make them feel welcome.
Yeah, I did.
Other than that, I'm gonna make this offer to you guys, but then I'll do it on Sunday morning. If any of you are interested in the book the leadership is going through, Anatomy of a Revived Church, and are willing to join a bi-monthly book club to meet and talk about each chapter with its questions in light of Moxie, I'll provide the books. But you have to make that commitment to meet to discuss it. Because if you're willing to do that, then I'm looking at you as possibly the core of revival for the church that we need.
did you say bi-monthly?
Yeah, twice a month.
Yeah.
Isn't
Okay, I
that
just want,
isn't that bi-monthly?
I think so.
Yeah.
It's kind of like Hezekiah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was thinking, wow.
I don't know if you noticed today, but the air conditioner was raining in the building again today.
Yeah, you need to give me that guy's number so I can rake him over the coals tomorrow. So send me a text
All
or
right.
something, will you, buddy?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
Sure will.
All right.
Okay,
If there's nothing else, I thank you for your faithfulness. Remember
Weren't-
to, oh,
weren't you-
Pat.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Yes.
okay. I saw Pat today, and as I walked into the room, she's laying there. She and Dave were talking, and she looked over at me and yelled about, gave me a heart attack. You know how Pat is. Oh, what are you doing there? I said, well, I came to see Dave, not you. Be quiet. So, we had a very good visit. She looks like somebody with epilepsy that wears those plastic helmets in case they bang their head. But
Yeah.
it's not plastic. She's all wrapped up like a mummy.
Oh.
But her clown makeup is fading. Okay, I told Dave he needed to paint her up a little bit more. So they got things on her head, not in her head, but on her head, and it's got a monitor and blah blah blah. So they're trying to figure out maybe what connection or what's going on that caused the seizure. The doctor came in and you couldn't understand him, and I won't say any further. So she's in there for sure tonight. Maybe she has to be on that machine for 30 hours. So probably tomorrow she'll come off the machine. Hopefully they know what they're looking for, and will be able to connect the dots properly. And she might come home tomorrow. I don't know. She's anxious to get home. But she needs to also realize that when you get home, you just need to park it and take it easy. I think she might have started moving a little bit too much when she got home because she was only home 4 hours when the seizure hit. So she's going to have to kind of pace herself on this stuff. But I told her, I said on Thursday night after I visited with you, I told the group that you have 8 cartons of ice cream in your freezer. So when you get home and you get better, you're going to hear a knock on your door and the whole church is going to come out and we're going to have ice cream. Just laughed
Bring the
and laughed.
topping.
She just laughed and laughed and laughed. She's in great spirits. She really is. Great spirit. 81 years old. Did you know she was that old? 81 years old. My cow. Anyways, I appreciate each and every one of you. Let's continue to join our hearts in prayer. Be specific in your praying over specific things. I think God is going to honor that more than just going through the alphabet. Okay, guys? We will talk to you Tuesday, if not before. Carl, send me that info, okay?
It's already on its way.
All right. Good night, guys.